All right, welcome everybody. Thanks for your patience. This is Tuesday, July 23rd, 2024, and this is the Kentucky Assembly's attempt at an orientation class, part 4. You'll notice in the invite tonight, I had part 1 through 3, part 1, part 2, and part 3. The link attached to that, so hopefully everybody, if you hadn't seen that, was able to put it on a 1.5 and skim through it pretty quick. Not today or wherever, but it's whenever you've had the time. Um, Let me bring up the PowerPoint and we'll do a little bit of review since it's been a while. I apologize. It was such a long time in between part 3 and part 4, but we'll do a little bit of a review and we'll get right back into part 4. It says part 2, but it's actually part 4. All right. Come on. There we go. All right. Part 4, actually, like I said, committee-based organization and what it means, militia and post office. So we'll do a four pillars review. As far as an overview, we'll do a review on the committees that we talked about in part 3, a review on the militia, a review on the LRO accounts, and we'll go over the post office. I don't think we went over that in part 3. So again, just a four pillars review. We have our General Assembly, which are public gatherings on Zoom at the moment. We've had 2 face-to-face in this generation of the Kentucky Assembly. And so the General Assembly is comprised of American state nationals and American state citizens and vetted U.S. citizens that show interest in the Assembly. And then most interstate business is done through the General Assembly. Interstate. So that's not nation states, that's within the state, inside of the state. So most of the state business is done in the General Assembly. Our International Business Assembly is comprised of American state citizens voting on matters regarding international business. Our Militia Assembly, it's actually the State Assembly Militia is the correct term to keep from it being weaponized and used as something that the de facto would like for other people to see us as a threat, or I'm not even going to say the term, but you all know what I'm saying. So the proper term is our State Assembly Militia. Building this assembly as you bring people from public to private, the majority of the people are in the militia because the word militia it means people. All right. So unless too young or too elderly. So it was said when I first papered up, and the way I was learning, that when you status correct and you join the assembly, there's 2 pillars that you automatically fall under. That's the General Assembly and that's the militia pillar, because all those meetings are public. All right, public. The militia would be public to our populace, status corrected Americans, and the General Assembly, as it says up here, is open to everybody, general public. That's status corrected Americans, U.S. citizens, uh, anybody. All right. So the General Assembly, by joining the state General Assembly, you're agreeing to serve as a juror and act in the capacity of a state citizen. This jury duty is the fundamental building block underlying the public and organic law of this country. Now, that what it just said, by joining the state General Assembly, you're agreeing to serve as a juror and act as the capacity of a state citizen. That goalpost, so to speak, has been moved a little bit to as far as when you sit on a jury. Um, I don't think you actually have to be a state citizen. You can be a state national for the county level courts and grand jury for state matters. Now, once you go international and you sit on the state court, then yes, you probably would have to be a state citizen. But this is all as we're learning. with Tom on the General Assembly. He does his diligence, he does his homework, and he figures out from meeting to meeting course corrections and stuff like that. So I have every confidence that that will be worked out as our General Assembly proceeds. Any questions or comments on this? The review? Anybody got any? This is the time that if you have questions or comments from anything that you've kind of had the light bulb moment from parts 1 through 3, I welcome that. And as we're going through this, if you have a question, please either speak up or if somebody can watch the chat to help me out. All right, moving on. To start, this is the start of part 4. We are a We are a committee-based organization. Committees have no special authority aside from the subject matter each committee is responsible for. Committees are where the work gets done. We are committee men and committee women. Committees are all equal. There is no one committee that has more perceived power than the other. They are all part of the whole, all working toward one goal. All committees are considered subcommittees under the General Assembly structure. Be prepared. Our American assemblies don't operate as corporations, and they do not have a top-down structure with the CEO at the top of a pyramid. American state assemblies operate using a multi-committee structure to get things done, and the assembly chair is the spokesperson, not a CEO. So, to explain what's being said here is let's say I, as a man on Lincoln County, come to the General Assembly as we get seated, right? And I've got a problem with my post office here on the county. Okay. I can go to the General Assembly meeting and I can ask, hey, has anybody else got this problem on their county with their postal workers? Okay. Well, is there anything that my General Assembly, my government, me being a status corrected American, is there anything that the General Assembly can do to help us out? And at that time, there will be a committee. If there's a need and the committee's not there, we have every right to form a committee and get it knocked out. So let's just say we form the postal workers hand slapping committee. It's just throwing it out there. We get together, that committee gets together, we get the facts of what's going on, and then they would research that and they would find a proper way, not living up to the propagated oxymorons that they've put out there for us, but living up to the living in peace, helping to uphold the public law, that moniker. We can do it peacefully. And then, after whether right now we're having General Assembly meetings at the end of the month, let's say we get going, we do bi-weekly meetings. We get more business, we need to start meeting more. Okay? So, week 1, we form the committee. We've got, let's say, 2 weeks in between the General Assembly meeting. That committee that was just formed gets together in 2 weeks, comes back, and presents what they have formed to the General Assembly. And then the General Assembly at that time would take a roll call vote or roll call election to proceed with this, to take it to the General Assembly, which would have a chairman. And that chairman would get with, let's say, a notice committee and create a notice to the legislative body that are our employees, the post offices in question, let's say, and present that and get that ball rolling to course correct the de facto to recognize us. That's just an example. Anybody else got any examples or questions? Okay. All committees are formed. Let's see. All committees are formed in the General Assembly. This gives all qualified participants the opportunity to join a committee. Some committees will need to be vetted, and the General Assembly will vote for those committee members. Most committees are comprised of American state nationals and American state citizens, although dual loyalties dual loyalties and dual citizenships prohibit some from chairing committees. Well, i.e., bar attorneys, insurance agents. Let's say Masons. Let's say we have third degree Masons, and they participate in the Masons, Freemasons. It's pretty much common sense that they would not be able to hold a chair position or anything like that, but they're more than welcome to participate on the committee. In my opinion, I wouldn't have no qualms with it. What is a qualified participant? One who has completed their paperwork, is recorded and published, and can verify by producing their records, completed all the additional notices, if applicable, and letters, and one who has lived on Kentucky, I beg your pardon, for a year and a day. All committee men and women need to be vetted to do this standard. Okay, so a little bit of an explanation to this. One who has completed their paperwork, is recorded and published, and can verify by producing the records, completed all additional notices, if applicable. This goes back to what I was talking about in part one. When you're you're doing your soul searching, whether you want to be a state citizen and serve, or state national and participate at the state level. Well, the notices that are provided in our packets, this is what this means. Completed all additional notices, if applicable, and letters. So it doesn't mean that you have to do them just because they're in your packet. It's a way that Anna and the living law firm in the Federation has given us a streamlined template to where across the board we can do this, and it's a check. Yep, I've separated all ties with both IRS entities. That's the revocation of election to pay taxes. Your declaration of political status, check. You've made it known to the State Department, de facto State Department, that you're no longer a U.S. citizen. You're an American state national. It's just paperwork is there to help us prove who we are and prove our status and standing. It's nothing that the only thing that needs to be done is your 1779, your 2 witness form, and your birth certificate. Everything else is position improvement. And what I mean by that is that's a military term, I think. It could be used for other things, but that's what I mean. Okay, we've done our status correction. We've done the minimum, 1779, 2 witness forms, and a birth certificate. We have established our position. We've set up camp. Position improvement is getting security around that perimeter, 360-degree security, getting quartermaster in. I mean, that's all military term, but that's position improvement. So when you do your status correction, you do your those documents set, then anything else is what I term position improvement. And you cannot do that too much. It's CYA, cover your ass at all times. And that's part of self-governing. It's like I mentioned, I think on part 3. If you take the 4-pillar structure and you apply that to your individual life, I don't think you can go wrong. I think you're set up. Any questions or comments? When it says all committee men, when it says here, what is a qualified participant? One who's completed their paperwork, recorded, blah, 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 notice and letters, and one who has lived on Kentucky. It's not Tennessee. It's Kentucky for a year and a day. What that means is if I was to come from Tennessee to Kentucky and want to serve as a state citizen, I have to be status corrected on Kentucky for a year and a day to be able to serve as a state citizen. A state national, that does not apply. A state national would only need to redo their 1779 document. Because go and read your 1779 document. It says what state you're on. So if you do move states, and this is for anybody that's coming to Kentucky that may see this orientation class, in order to serve as a state citizen, you must be declared on Kentucky for a year and a day. That just is the time frame that proves no dual allegiance. Okay, I've been a Kentuckian for a year now. That's my right to serve. Okay, state nationals, just redo your 1779 and you're good. Any questions or comments? So that's good information for everybody that's thinking about doing outreach or maybe thinking about a recording secretary or public notary. It's good information to have because that question does come up. Us Americans are nomads. I'm just kidding. Here we go. We have learned that we need to give our committee men and committee women a strong foundation and understanding of what, notice how they termed that, an understanding. So it's like a foundation of what we are reconstructing. We have all been indoctrinated to varying degrees. I was in the military. I was indoctrinated. Still am to a point. By the very act of recording and publishing our status correction, we have purposefully left behind the British territorial system and the municipal feudal system. So be mindful that we are not reconstructing the very thing we are escaping from. We are no longer subjects and slaves. So we need to unlearn and deconstruct all of our previous habits and beliefs. One key habit and belief that I see is that we always have to have permission. When you status correct, you don't need permission anymore. You just live your life as an American in honor, in peace, and help uphold the public law because you have this general superior concurrent jurisdiction. Okay, it's just like Ohio when they went to Anna to see about getting seated and getting the ball rolling on Ohio. They didn't go to Anna and say, Anna, we think we're ready. They went to Ohio, Anna and said, Anna, we are ready. See the difference? They may not have been ready. There may have been some stuff on their list that they had to complete. But there's a difference in going, think we're ready and we're ready. Okay? It's that confidence. And the more research and the more self-governing you practice in your individual, the better you're going to shine within the assembling process. That's not to say that there's superstars among us because there's not. We're all equal. We're all created equal. But let's just face it, in reality, Belinda's got a better talent at accounting than I do. It's just a fact. So she makes a better treasurer than I do. That's just one example. They, quote, they, unquote, and I get that question all the time when I say they, everybody says, well, who's they? It's a bunch of people. They govern by our consent alone, and they need us to believe they are our true government, that they actually have any authority over us at all. In reality, we are their bosses. Think about that. It's a volunteer system. Let me read that again real quick. They govern by our consent alone, and they need us to believe that they are our true government, that they actually have an authority over us at all. In reality, we are their bosses. Think about that. It's a volunteer system. If you volunteer to serve on the assembly, then it goes back to our yeses are yeses and our noes are noes. If you volunteer for a position, you don't have to know that position. When you volunteer, the other men and women on the assembly are giving you their support for you to be able to research that role and bring back information to build that role. And if you just volunteer for a role and you don't do that, well, you're letting people down. Okay? Because it goes back again, this term indoctrination. We have all been indoctrinated to say who's in charge, who's the boss. I want to speak to the boss man. Look in the mirror. Okay? Any questions or comments on that? At this time, it's a volunteer system. We hope to get seeded and established to where we can get seed money because right now the role is reversed. Right now, the Federation is footing the bill for all the research and stuff. But once we get seated and all 50 states get seated, then we're to support our Federation. We're to support our Continental Marshal Service. Let's see. I can't hardly see the top. Review the attached PDF of recommended committees and see which one you would prefer to join. Now, we do have that listed on our agendas for our General Assembly meetings. Okay. We currently have the General Assembly, and the State Assembly militia. The militia has been formed, and we have two vetted militia coordinators. We have Todd Carney is the militia coordinator, and then Chris Kelty is the militia co-coordinator. Question, comments? Militia. What is the militia and current positions? Current militia positions. The militia is guaranteed to us in the constitutions. Why does it have an S at the end of constitutions? Anybody?
Because there's 3, possibly 4, 3 that
Exactly.
she talks about all the time.
Yep. And the fourth would have to get with Joe Hayes, because I have to say I don't know what that one is. I've heard him talk about it. It's not what the word militia has come to be associated. Let's see. What is the militia really? The militia is guaranteed to us in the Constitution. The militia, it's not what the word militia has come to be associated with, which is posse, pitchforks, lanterns, nooses, all that stuff. It's crazy. Militia helps each county and state when there's an emergency that hits anywhere in Kentucky. Militia involvement is required from anyone. Ooh, it says required. Militia involvement is required from anyone 21 to 45. If you're over 45 and still able and still want to participate, then you are more welcome to do so. Voluntary militia training can start at 16. Now, it's coincidental that me and my daughter have fallen in love with a Little House on the Prairie. And watching those, it rings a bell with what we're doing, because they had a bell in the meeting of the in the middle of the town, that whenever there was an emergency, they rung the bell, and every man knew what that bell mean. He knew his role. He knew where to go. Every woman knew what that bell meant. They knew what to do. They knew where to go. Even the kids. So that's a pitch for Little House on the Prairie as a research, because it's crazy how much you can see how times were, which is just right after the Civil War back then, is when that time period was. It's crazy that you can see how even the kids are different levels in schools. Or now in our indoctrination, we've got it to where 2-year-olds can't talk to 3-year-olds. That's just, back in the day, 2-year-olds were in the same class, or I beg your pardon, not 2-year-olds, but 4 and 5-year-olds was in the same class as the 13 and 15-year-olds. It's community. It's community-based learning. It's community-based security. It's everything. The militia. Okay? So, militia involvement is required from anyone 21 to 45. I'd say a little bit of clarity in that could be added to this. Think of it as the people coming together, protect and defend during an emergency or disaster. And if you've got Roku, they have a Little House on the Prairie channel. It's a live channel. Land recording. Any questions or comments on the militia? Okay, Land Recording Office, or LRO accounts. Here's the link. Please create your profile in the Land Recording Office LRO if you haven't already. Majority of people on this call already have. Let's see who's on the call. Right. Come on. All right. LRO accounts. LRO accounts help with 2 basic functions. Helping the coordinators to know how many people are on the land and soil. Helping the Federation offer services to those on the land and soil easier. So a couple examples. Helping the Federation offer service to those on the land and soil easier. Credential cards is a service. Document generator is a service that they provide. Helping the coordinators know how many people are on the land and soil. That's not just coordinators. I, as Marshal at Arms, use this Whenever somebody asks me, how many people's on this county, I can go and I can look. And I know that majority of our status corrected men and women are in the Louisville tri-county quad county area. The rest are spread out few and far between. You are free to publish your records on the LRO. LRS is gone. Pay no attention to that. That needs to be taken out. You are free to publish your records on the LRO or even with your county, but setting up an LRO account is necessary. When I think they say even with your county, they're talking about the county clerk, but that's just another, what I say, position improvement. Okay. The LRO was created for us to be able to have a public record to publish to. There are some counties that are taking our paperwork and filing it under miscellaneous. I know Russell County is one. For a fact, I know one man that did his paperwork there when the new county clerk got sworn in. He was the first in line, and she did it for him. And I know there's been talk that Jefferson County, I don't know if everybody remembers Valencia, but those that have been on the assembly a while remember Valencia. She was a very powerful woman in Jefferson County, powerful as far as her knowledge on this subject. She said that Jefferson County would do it. You had to leave your paperwork with them, and they would mail it back, but they would do it. So I encourage people to check that out in those counties if you're there. But going back to what I was saying, that's a position improvement type deal. You don't have to be on your county. You don't have to go through that. Okay. I've been shot at. I've been blowed up in the military. And when I went to my county clerk and offered for them to uphold their oath to me, I was nervous, shaking, butterflies. It's crazy. And it was because I was brand new in the information and I didn't have the muscle memory to speak it out. So you can do that if you'd like, but just know that when you're on the LRO, you're published. You're on the public record. Anything else is a position improvement that you're within your right as an individual self-governing to do. And unfortunately, you may get some kickback. If you publish on the LRO, you don't need to worry about creating another account. If you publish using one of the other methods, you have a recorder enter your nationality, recording number, and ASC and ASN status. Any questions or comments? And I would just put the pitch out there. I mean, they're not beating down our doors yet, but when they do start, I'd put it out there that we would need need more people to be a coach, or maybe coach is not a right term, but somebody that's been through the process, knows it well enough that we can get people status corrected instead of a week, you know. Let's see, post offices, U.S. Post Office, and USPS. Why is there all three listed there, you reckon? Anybody? I'd say it's gonna tell us, but I would just want to know if anybody has an idea.
Yeah, because they're three different corporations.
I don't think the post office is corporate.
You're right. It's three different entities. You have the United States Postal Service. You have your U.S. Post Office. Then you have the Post Office. I think, I could be wrong. I'm going to go out on a limb because I know it's going to tell us in the next slides. But I think the Post Office is us. U.S. Post Office is territorial. And USPS is municipal. Everybody's gotten that. I could be wrong on this first one. But I'm almost 100% sure that U.S. Post Office is territorial. USPS is municipal because territorial is always spelled out. Federal Bureau of Investigations. Municipal, you can tell right off the bat. It's FBI. Department of Defense. Territorial. Municipal, DOD. Okay? And the reason they did that was because of the bankruptcies and well, that not be the total reason, but all the semantic deceit. That's the main reason. They've got people so squirrely up and down, they don't know which way is right and left. So that's how they can commit the fraud easier. More thanks, Bob, for that answer. Any more questions and comments? Boom. Our lawful court of record. This is big, especially if you're working on your administrative process or if you're sending notices. The post office is a branch of the military, i.e., Postmaster General. We, the people, have a lawful constitutional contract with the municipality for the post office, customs, and all related services to ensure that mail is delivered securely to its destination. The municipal government services contract was with the Holy See, of which the Pope is the ruler. The Vatican was created in 1929 and is the only lawful contract we have for municipal government services. Their jurisdiction was strictly within the District of Columbia, D.C. Why registered mail with stamps when we are mailing notices, letters, etc. to public office officials? Stamps are lawful money. And I think it's the coolest thing ever when I'm sending out my register. I'm paying for the stamps through the USPS.com. I'm buying my stamps, but I don't have to pay another dime for a registered mail packet. If it costs me $25, I put $25 with the stamps on there. Okay. And not to go off too far in the weeds, but I think that you can take used stamps and use them as trading. Not money, but as trading. So why register mail with stamps when we are mailing notice, letters, etc. to public officials? Stamps are lawful money backed by gold and keep us in proper land jurisdiction. That's why you don't want to, when you're doing registered mail, if you've already paid for the stamps, don't let them print out that metered mail sticker and put it on there, even though it says 000. Just tell them, I don't want that on there. This is not metered mail. They're not going to understand. Some of them might, but they'll just print it out, throw it in the trash. It don't need to be on there whatsoever.
They have informed.
Go ahead.
They've informed us that they can't take that 000 off. It's went on every one because they said that barcode says where it's going or something.
They're wrong. I can show you picture after picture after picture of my post office sending it. I can send you return. So they're wrong. I mean, they're going by. That's the problem. They're going by. Louisville's going by this standard. Lincoln County's going by this standard. And Lancaster, you can't even do registered mail because they're telling them that it's only for bonds. So there comes in our systematic change that we present to our employees once we're standing as an assembly. We can correct that. We can't correct it with the people standing behind the counter because they're there to defend their paycheck. You know, they're in the rat race just like us. But I'm not poo-pooing what you just said, Laura, but I can show you proof. And all it is a matter of knowing who you are, looking them square in the eye, and talking to them. Okay? It's not, well, you know, it's not bowing your chest out and being argumentative. It's like going in with a mask and they tell you to put a mask on and you tell them, I'm not wearing a mask. I can't wear a mask. I can't breathe in those things. They're human just like us. That's a little off subject. I can show you picture upon picture. And it's different from the service workers that are in there. I got one woman that I go to, and more likely she's there. My packages are ready, stamped, all prettied up. Give it to her. 5 minutes, I'm out the door. She knows to take that meter thing and just crumble it up. She even knows that when she's done with her thing, she sets it in front of me so I can take my picture for my proof. But when she's not there and I go to Vicky prints out the metered mail sticker and she goes to put it on there. I said, I really don't want that on there. And she gives me a look and I'll point to the other, I can't remember her name, but the woman I deal with on a regular, I point to her and I'll say, Well, she don't do it. And there Vicky's like, okay, you know. So sorry for that rambling, but it's on how you choose your battles, so to speak. Battle's maybe not the best word, but if you've paid foreign stamps, you do not have to have that metered mail sticker on there. It's not tracking. The tracking is the RE number. It's the registered mail number. That's how they track it. It's crazy. I'm not laughing at you, Laura. I'm laughing at the different
Inconsistencies.
the
Yes.
inconsistency. Yes, perfect word. Thank you. Okay. A $1 stamp on the back of court recording ensures it 100K for 100K and guarantees it goes where it is intended to go and doesn't appear or the full force of the post office. Let me reread this, okay? Stamps are lawful money backed by gold and keep us in proper land jurisdiction. Metered mail is fraud. A $1 stamp on the back of a court recording ensures it and guarantees it goes where it's intended to go and doesn't disappear, or the full force of the post office will rain down on those responsible. You autograph written on a diagonal through the stamp in red ink cancels it. And a judge cannot ignore it. So I put that. I've seen it done 100 different ways. Well, it's not 100 different ways. You can only go 2 directions on it on your 2-cent stamp or whatever stamp. It doesn't have to be a 2-cent stamp. 2-cent stamp, I think, got its usage because here's my 2 cents worth. I think that's where it came from. But it can be any denomination stamp. But I always go from left to right, upper left-hand corner on my envelopes. That makes me postmaster. They don't know it at the post office. They don't know that. They just take that 2-cent stamp and add it into my amount. Okay. So if I've got $25 worth of stamps on there, they're saying that I've got 2502. When really, if you read UPU, that 2-cent stamp with your autograph through it makes you the postmaster of that package. Okay. It puts it in your jurisdiction because when you status correct, you become your own banker, your own attorney in fact, and your own postmaster. Okay. It's part of self-governing. You don't need a government to do that for you. You can do it. Okay. And when it says it doesn't disappear or the full force of the post office will rain down on those responsible, there is something we can do. You can do a postal inspection complaint on your postmaster. If they're giving you grief, don't argue with them. Go to the USPS.com and do a complaint. And they will get, hopefully, they will get audited or whatever. And course corrected. That registered mail is not just for bonds. You know, it's so, and also not just on your packages, on your documents. Okay. I make it a practice, and I'll tell you my reasoning behind this when I get done. But I always, as best as I can, get as close to my 2-cent stamps, especially on their document. If they send me a third-party debt collector's notice, I'm canceling that document out and I'm putting it in my jurisdiction by putting 2-cent stamps on it. And when I put it on there, I'm putting it too close to as close. They got so much gobbledygook on them on purpose. Okay, it's on purpose. They don't give us no room to cancel this stuff out. But I put it as close to the upper left-hand corner as possible on the first page. On the last page of my documents, on the very back, I put it down at the bottom right-hand corner. Because we've all been taught in English to read from left to right. When a judge sees your evidence, he's reading from left to right. He goes through 4 or 5 documents. He turns that last document over and there's nothing on there. I've heard this. I haven't gone through this, but they have the ability to say, there's nothing else here. This is still open for discussion. But if you put that 2-cent stamp on there, it's closing it out. That's why I do Exhibit A, B, and C in my administrative process. But Exhibit A, left, on the back, bottom right. Close it out. That is done, Judge. Here's the next one, right? Okay. That's why it says a judge cannot ignore it. They may try, but they cannot. Any questions or comments on that?
Yeah, I have a question. On your stamp, I know you had said you go to the USPS, to order your stamps, but I'm not seeing any of like the $10 stamps that you can order through there anymore. It's like they're gone.
I just ordered some the other day, so I know they're not gone. Maybe once we adjourn and we stop the recording, I can go there and help you find. We'll screen share and help everybody find where to find it.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
All right, we'll do that. Just don't let me forget.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I got one.
Yeah.
This is Austin on Jefferson, but I was wondering if you could provide like an example of how it would look when the letter's all filled out and stamped up and ready to go.
Same thing. After we adjourn and get through the PowerPoint and stuff, I'll be more than happy to share an example.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep. Just don't let me forget.
All right.
Any others? Our lawful court of record. So keep in mind when you're sending these things out, it's your court of record. So that means you've got to be the judge, the jury, and the clerk. So the clerk means being able to keep good records. Okay. Registered mail is the original secured mail. Your package stays in a locked cage, safe, or sealed container while transported. I don't know about all that, but while not in transport, it is kept away from the other mail in a locked safe. Electronic and physical signatures at each post office facility show the chain of custody, so you know where the piece is every step of the way. Registered mail requires all seams to be sealed with opaque tape, usually brown tape as another measure of security, and stamped with red ink, postal date stamp. The recipient must sign, the recipient, I beg your pardon, must sign for it before the packages is handed over. An added green card return receipt is signed and a dated stamp and dated stamped, and these are all proof officials have been served as your court of record. That's why it's recommended to use registered mail. But they've moved the cheese on that. They quit sending out green receipts. The post offices lose them. And a point on that, the green receipt is not an actionable item for a postal carrier worker. What I mean by actionable item means they cannot be suspended, fired, or terminated for losing a green receipt. Okay? So think about it. They hand the package to the person that's going to. They take the green thing off. It's supposed to be signed. That postal worker takes it and puts it with all their other shit or crap. Okay? So, but it's digitally recorded before that postal worker, supposed to be before that postal worker leaves. So they sign it, and it's just like UPS. You know how they got those little digital things they carry around? So if 2 or 3 weeks go by after you send these things out, and you can go to the United States Post Office, postalservice.com, and track your package, especially if you've done priority registered mail. Priority mail on the receipt will have your tracking number. Registered mail, you use the registered mail number on your registered mail label. That's how you track these packages. You want to stay on top of it, especially if you give a time period in your due process, okay? But anyway, if it gets by 2 weeks and you ain't got a green receipt back, go to the USPS.com, enter in that tracking number, print out what you see there. It will show step by step where it's been and when it was delivered in time and date. Okay? So the green receipt is not an actual item. It is a service that you've paid for. Okay? So for further proof, you have every right to go to the postmaster of that office that you mailed that out to. You take this white receipt. You may not be able to see it, but it's the white paperwork. It's the white paperwork that you do with your registered mail. It's the Form 3806. It's the white form that you fill out. It's the form that they run through their little receipt machine that prints out where you paid for it. I don't know if you can see it because of my background, but it's got a stamp on there of a date and time, or just a date. Okay? You take this back into the postmaster and you say, Here, bub. I paid for registered mail. I'd like to know what happened to my green receipt. They may say you're not privy to that information, but you are because you paid for a registered mail service. So you show them. Say, look, I am. I'm the one that paid for it. I'd like to see it. And they'll run their little happy back on their computer. They'll look up your registered mail number and they'll print you out a copy of the green receipt and who signed it. Okay, so there's that option too. All outstanding pieces of evidence during the administrative process and proof that you have lawfully noticed the de facto, the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, all states, secretaries of state, you know. So don't, if you can't do registered mail and you don't want to go through all that, somewhere or another, put some type of number on your notices, on your documents to where you can track that and you have record of it. What I mean by that, and I'll close up for questions, is when I do a registered mail packet, if I do a notice of liability and I have a registered mail number on my computer in my files, I have that registered mail number entered in as what the file's labeled. Okay. So at any time, that's what I'll use for my quarter record, is that registered mail number. If I don't use registered mail to mail it with, to where it's on the envelope, I'll do a priority mail package, but I'll use their registered mail labels on my documents for my quarter record. That don't mean it's registered mail. It means it's priority mail because it's in a priority mail envelope. It just means that on there, because when I'm scanning my stuff in right before I send it, because that's always good practice. You don't ever want to send stuff and not have a record of what you sent, because you can't hold their feet to the fire. You can't say, here, it's exactly what I sent you. You know, you're down to having to remember what you type, retype it, and trying to make it look as authentic as possible. And that's not living in honor. So always keep good records of your stuff, some type of numbering system. If you don't want to use registered mail number, start with 0000001 and start from there, just like a check. Okay. An added green card return receipt is signed, date stamped, and these are all proof officials have been served as your court of record. Look up the postal. Crap. I'll think of it in a minute. You can make a claim and request an investigation on registered mail insured up to $50K. You can make a claim or request an investigation on registered mail tracking and delivery records are kept for 2 years. Okay. I think it's the postal code. I'll always, in my conditional acceptance letters at the very end, state the postal code, which says as soon as I hand this package to the postal worker, it's a contract. It's a done deal. And they know that. They can't say, well, I didn't know I was supposed to send a green receipt. It's right in my eye. It's your own fault you didn't know. Excuse me. Any questions or comments? Sorry for rambling on that issue. Moving along. The Post Office, U.S. Post Office, and USPS. The first United States Post Office established as a national public postal service under a postal treaty. Does anybody want to read this? Give me a break for a minute, please.
Okay, I will.
Thank you.
The first United States Post Office, established as a national public postal service under postal treaty with all the other member nations, designated Philadelphia, Pennsylvania as our seat of government, and so it remains to this day, operated and owned by the United States of America, unincorporated. The United States of America has its own post office run in tandem with the U.S. Postal Service, while the U.S. Postal Service runs side by side with the municipal USPS. One post office, 2 postal services, and last time I counted 7 different hats for the United States Postmaster to wear, including international and global offices. The United States of America, unincorporated. We fly the United States civil flag of peace and maintain the United States Post Office. You will notice that the title for war flag flies at the all U.S. post offices and all USPS service centers. You as a postmaster, think about it. You handle the mail. Buy, sell, trade, carry, and deliver mail all the time. Have the right and ability to send yourself anywhere the mail goes. Article 1180, Passports PDF.
That's Anna's article, 1180 passports PDF. Thanks for reading that, Laura. So what they done is when they did their overlays, they went from the post office, which is, I think, what Benjamin Franklin worked so hard to create as one of the enumerated services. Then they created the two postal services, which is different. A service is different than an office. And then they've done it again with the USPS, United Postal Service. Any more questions or comments? So we operate as post offices and postmasters. Now, if you say that to another postmaster, what do you think they're going to do? I mean, you're a threat. I mean, you're not really a threat, but I'll use that term for lack of a better term. You are your own postmaster. That's just the long and short of it. They have their postmaster and you have yours. It's good to be able to work in tandem with each other. The post office, the U.S. Post Office, and USPS from Audubon Rights. Please click on the link and read this article 17 or 780. This will leave your head whirling. Why am I going to read it then? No, I'm just kidding. It's article 780. This will leave your head whirling. Please click on the link and read this article 2482 for the U.S. military. So apparently those will give you good insight into what was talked about in the last two slides. Okay, USPS, IRS zone enforcer. Wow. And zip codes. Wow. Right? IRS zone enforcer. So there's a reason why they did the corporate overlay. The federal government utilizes the zip code to prove that you reside in a federal district of the District of Columbia. This is why the IRS and other government agencies, state and federal, require a zip code. When they insist, that's why we put our stuff in brackets now, because it's near. Okay, we're outside of their overlay. So it's near postal code. Doesn't mean you're in postal code. It's near postal code. And I've even seen some people not use the brackets and put near postal code, okay, or non-domestic. When they assert jurisdiction by sending you a letter, they claim that this speeds the mail up. But this is a sly and subtle trick. It's also prima facie evidence that you're a subject of Congress and a citizen of the District of Columbia who is resident in one of the several states. Makes total sense, doesn't it? I would hope it does. So that's why when Anna says do your land patents, she's described that zip code and your taxes, that your property taxes are attached to a 5-foot boundary that runs right along the county road. That's what that postal area is for. That's what that postal code is for. It's not for your property, because when you did a land patent, you do your 4 corner stakes, you describe it, you do your chain of title research, and then, like I've got 150, 200 foot driveway comes down to my house. They can have their mailbox and their 40484 and their 496 Will Chancellor Road, because I'm in care of C/O 496 Will Chancellor Road, right? So I am in care of that box. But when I do a land patent, I'm renaming my driveway and I'm putting my lucky numbers on my house, because my lucky number is 3, and it's going to be Sunshine Lane because that's my daughter's name. They can have their 496 Will Chancellor Road. And eventually, hopefully, we can do the systematic thing that needs to happen with that part of it, saying that's not our address. Why are you taxing our property when that's your address? That's your overlay. And I don't know if you remember, it might be some of you remember when this happened, but back in the 80s, I think, or early 90s, let's say they went from my zip code is 40484. They added the dash and the last four numbers because they did another overlay. I did a registered mail packet to Danville, the next county over, when I was doing doing administrative process on them for trying to come after me for COVID injuries on my son, COVID injuries. I used one postal code. I did just like it said, their zip code, the dash, and then the extra numbers. And I want you to know that registered mail package went from Stanford to Lexington to Louisville and then back to Danville. So I said, that's a little long for my 10-day window that I'm giving them. So I'm not going to use that last because I can track my packages, right? So I'm not going to use that last number. I'm just going to use the zip code. And I want you to know it went from Lincoln County to Lexington and then to Danville. It didn't go to Louisville. Okay. So there it was just more evidence for me that this is way out of whack, you know? But anyway.
May I, Justin?
Yes,
I
please.
just want to say while you're talking about land patents that I put Susan James land patent meeting for this Thursday at 10 p.m. in the chat. She's having the Ron Gibson and Eric Winbigler on it. So it is in the chat if anybody wants to go to that land patent meeting with their special guest.
Yeah, thank you. That's Ron Gibson, right?
Yes.
Would that be the second class that they done? Because I think she did one maybe a Saturday ago or 2 Saturdays ago. Was the first one?
I don't know.
Mhm.
She done one on Thursday about 6 weeks ago, and it ended up being 4 hours long.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was in attendance to that too. So,
Yep.
and Ron is very, very thorough. He's really knowledgeable. I really like him.
Yeah. If you'll remind me, Laura, I was on a marshaled arms call, I think it was, and the subject of land patent came up, and there was a woman from Alaska that shared a PDF of everything that Alaska has done. They come up with the whole process. So, if you'll remind me to put that PDF, that whole zip file, I'll try and put the whole file into the chat. But if not, if you all want that zip file, just send me an email and say land patent zip file in the subject, and I'll reply with that zip file because it's a step by step. It's you go, where do I begin? It's not Ron Gibson's process, but it's a process. So thanks for bringing that up. And then I'll plug their Linktree. California's Linktree is a good way to keep up with our classes as well. So thanks for that. Let's see. Richard McDonald. I don't know what this is on here for, so I apologize. I should have took it off, but somebody investigate it and see what it's all about. A zip code address is presumed to create a federal jurisdiction or market venue or revenue districts that override state boundaries, taking one who uses such modes of addresses outside of the state venue and its constitutional protections and into an international commercial venue involving admiralty concerns of the United States, which is a commercial corporation domiciled in Washington, D.C. I got you, David. By W.C. Updegrave. W.C. Updegrave. I think that's how you pronounce that. But anyway, you can tell I'm not very versed in what it's saying here because anybody got any comments on what's being said here? Questions? So a zip code is presumed to create a federal jurisdiction. That's why we put it in brackets, because we're making it known that we're not in any federal jurisdiction. We're on the land and soil This package is coming to you from the land and soil jurisdiction, though you may not know what that is yet. But it's coming. All right. And same thing on the top. USPS, IRS zone enforcers, and zip codes. Receiving your mail with the zip code is one of the requirements for the IRS to have jurisdiction to send you notices. The government cannot bill a Kentucky citizen, a Tennessee citizen. The government cannot bill a Kentucky citizen because he is not within the purview of the municipal laws of the District of Columbia. In fact, the Internal Revenue Service has adopted the zip code areas as internal revenue districts. See the Federal Register, Volume 51, Number 53, 1986. That just proves of the cohesion between the de facto. They sat and they come up with this whole plan, and they said, well, here's how we can do it. We can create this zip code to keep tabs on everybody. Remedies: get a post office box or try to get general mail service at the post office. They are supposed to not discriminate, but most USPS locations enforce internal revenue zones and don't honor that. This is why we use in care of before our house number and street, and why we enclose the zip code in brackets or write zip code exempt. The post office department was abolished. Public Law 91-375, August 12, 1970, an act reorganized and abolished the post office department and created the United States Postal Service, a corporation like independent agency, subcontractor, authorized by the U.S. Government Service Corporation. Be it enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America and Congress assembled, that this act may be cited as the Postal Recognition Act. If you look on your fee schedules, this act is one of your main fees, and it's one that I quote in my due process in my administrative letters as when I give them liability. I'll line item my fee schedule. You are in trespass of this line item, blah 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 blah, and one of them is this Postal Reorganization Act. Because when they send us stuff, they're sending it to us as junk mail to a British territorial citizen. Most of the time, when you got, instead of a stamp, you'll have a red stamp that's got the, it's got the time and the date and all that stuff on it. Well, you can guarantee that they're sending that to you as a British territorial citizen. Okay, as one of theirs. So this was so I put it in my notices as a trespass that they shouldn't be sending me anything in the mail. So there alone, is a fee. This was done by the corporations acting under color of law, not the This was done by corporations acting under color of law, not the constitutional government of the people. They had to leave a remedy to allow us to access the original post office so they could claim it was voluntary on our part. Right? So they created all this stuff. They had to create a remedy to make it legal, but they didn't give us the remedies. They hid the remedies from us, just like Public Law 73-10. Resources. More information can be found at, of course, honorvonrights.com. Her search engine, the links are there. The TASL link there, and the States of America educational information link there. Also review. Now, I put this brief report whenever I see an inquiry to the assembly in our automated generated reply is this document here, this brief report. It's an outstanding document. If you haven't read it, I would read it. The Declaration of Flag is another one that I send to people looking for information. Because if you take the time to read the Declaration of Flag document, 70 pages long. But if you take the time to read it and you have time to read it, you're going to take yourself from here to here in your understanding of this subject of what we're on. I guarantee you. I'm not leading you wrong. The brief report, it's like a 5-page article. It's outstanding. That's why I give it to people that are looking for information. If they're serious about the information, they'll read this and they'll, boom, the light will come on. It's like, that's why they're doing this. So, and then also review honest books, PDFs, and websites or purchase at ASN Secure. So the books are, you know something is wrong when American Affidavit, America's Some Assembly Required. You have the Disclosure 101, which is right here. It's holding my phone up. And then you have the Blood Money book, which is right here. It's holding my phone up. Okay.
May I?
Yes.
Justin, if I can just go back a little bit, this is David on Hart County.
Hey, David.
As far as the post office goes, you stated that they had to leave us a remedy to make it legal. Wouldn't it, I'm just curious to make sure, because there's a difference between legal and lawful. Are they intending for it to be under the legal status for the British registry, or are they intending it to be under the lawful status for common law and the Constitution? I yield.
Yeah. I think what you're asking is they created it for their population, the federal citizens, the municipal citizens, and they created the remedy for us as Americans because we don't stand under that. We're not part of the corporation, but they just did not tell us how to get to the remedy. For instance, the Mochi process. That's what we've had to come up with as best as we can tell from reading their stuff that's hidden most of the time. That's what we have come up with, we being everybody, the Federation, everybody, to be able to make good on their remedy. So did I hit that right?
Okay, very, very good. So if something were to come up and there were a court case, because it sounds to me like it's going to be a lawful remedy, then it's going to be that much more difficult to get the court to realize what's going on because they're not in the correct jurisdiction.
Exactly. Amendment 11 of the Constitution of the United States.
Okay,
Amendment
thank you.
11.
Appreciate that.
Yep. That's why most of the time their conviction rate in their courts is 96%. Great question. Thank you. So you got honest books and any more questions or comments? You got honest books and websites. And all can be found at the third link in the above section. So that's the TASA website. And if you go to just any URL browser, if you type in Disclosure 101, once you get to the right book, they're going to cloud it up with different resources, but honest books, what I'm talking about. Once you click on the Disclosure 101, all the other books on Amazon are going to come up. I don't know. I think Amazon's a good resource once we get it under control and it's not so, that's just me. I mean, but we got to do when in Rome, we got to do what the Romans do for a point, right? So Amazon's still a good resource in my opinion, and they're cheap. They're not very expensive. I know the American Affidavit and the Blood Money series. If you go to Anna's YouTube, the Returning Home YouTube account, there's a playlist. Those are audio. Those are played audio. All right, before the next class, let's do a time check right quick. Anybody got a time for me?
8:18.
Awesome. Thank you. Review the information in the PowerPoint and the attached documents. So I did share both PowerPoints. I shared part 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 in the invitation to tonight's meeting. So review that information, go to the attached documents, which is the articles that were mentioned, review the points of order document, review the assembly structure list, review the participation agreement, print it out, autograph and seal it, and scan it to the email to the coordinator. I apologize again. I didn't get this edited correctly, but I don't know. It's just my opinion. You know, we do not have a participation agreement on Kentucky yet. That's something that we need to create through committee, not just the marshal at arms or the treasurer or the coordinator. I mean, if they want to take the diligence to create it and bring it to the General Assembly for approval and editing, yeah. But so this last bullet point, pay no attention to. We're not there yet, but we hope to get there soon. Review the list of recommended committees. What committee would you like to join and why? And again, that can be found on any of our agendas. Any of the past agendas that you have, the committee structure are on there. There are, committees that could be created for necessary things, just like I said in the beginning. And then once that problem solved, that committee can sunset. Everybody can go back to doing what they're doing. Review the PowerPoint and think about what self-governance means to you and be ready to share your thoughts before the next class. So what does self-governance mean to you? I think about that all the time. In summary, 4 pillars. This is a question on the final knowledge review. Funny. The General Assembly, the General Assembly, International Business Assembly, and Community Response Team Militia Assembly. That's crazy. It's actually the State Assembly Militia. So we need to I'll get this edited to reflect. The points of order adopted by the Kentucky Assembly. We need to work on that. Participation agreement. Again, we need to work on that. And then we need to work on getting Kentucky Assembly officers at the state and the county level. Because though we're doing this backwards, we're doing it from the state down. As we populate the state, we populate the counties at the same time. That's why I think this system, this organic system we're in, is once we get it off the ground, it just, there's no holds. They can't hold us back. And if you watch the Tuesday podcast from today, the Ohio chairwoman Lisa had some very good information that there was a notice going around to all state ran facilities within Ohio that the true government is coming back online. So be ready to receive orders. Don't quote me on that. Go back and watch that podcast. Put it on a 1.5 and watch it. It's well worth it. And for
Did
Laura,
say that.
huh?
She did say that. I can quote you on it because I heard her say it too. It was a
and then-
winning moment.
Exactly. And even sheriffs, county sheriffs coming out and saying, I'm going to come back and have a meeting with you when I'm off duty because you all seem to know what you're talking about. You're confident. Just watch it. Just go back and watch it. I'll put a link in the chat once we get done. And also, I know, Laura, you were interested with them trying to railroad Neethy, but it seems like to me, from what I gathered from Anna, that, maybe Neethy was kind of out of bounds as far as it pertains to the assembly. Because it seemed like to me, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but Neethy was trying to gaslight a little bit, maybe. And I think Lisa and Anna did an outstanding job of not feeding into it. It's just my opinion. I don't hate on Neethy. I think Neethy's awesome for just putting that time out there, but that's all I'll say. Committee mentors. All attendees are encouraged to reach out to any of the mentors for help or questions as they are needed. Everybody here on this call I'm considered a mentor because this is our first orientation iteration. We hope to improve on it, improve the PDF or the PowerPoint, take the Tennessee stuff out, put in Kentucky's information, add some things that maybe we missed on this first iteration. Keep in mind, we got 2 weeks left. We got 2 parts left. We got PowerPoint 3, which was part 5 and part 6 to do. Okay. So, like I said, everybody on this call is a quote mentor, unquote. All right, you call yourself what you want. It's all titles. Any questions or comments? All right. And for the benefit of others, I'll if anybody's not got any questions or comments right now, I'll just go on and lead into answering the questions that were brought up during the call or during the presentation. And if there's any more questions or comments that stem from that, then we'll just leave the recording going for educational purposes for when it gets shared to other members of the assembly. All right. Let's see. Make sure that was the last slide. Yeah, that's the last slide. Okay. All right. So the first topic was the USPS website, right? Okay.
Yes. I was looking for the stamps and I find all of the stamps except for the higher denomination because I wanted to order them to get, because I have a bunch of notices that I need to get out, like ASAP.
Yeah. I'm tracking. And you can pretty much bet that I've learned that you can go ahead and load your envelope up with about $21 worth of stamps. Because that's
Okay.
the fee. At my post office, that's the fee for registered mail. With your signature receipt, all the security involved. That's just the fee for a registered mail packet. Now, when they weigh it and they see where it's going to add some more, of course. But if you have stamps in hand,
Yeah.
they should be able to wait 2 minutes for you to put the rest of your money on there. I mean, okay, let's see. Going to the website. My phone's getting
Is
ready to
that the
go
same with
dead.
the priority flat rate?
What do you mean by that?
Like the priority flat rate envelopes, is that what you're talking about? Or are you talking about like the registered mail stamps itself?
The priority mail envelopes look like. Let me do something real quick. Can y'all see that?
Yeah.
This is a priority mail envelope. These are free at the post office. These labels here are free at the post office.
Okay.
And then also what I've done is I've bought me this little handy dandy stamp. You see that?
I can't make it out, but
Anyway, it says Justin Paul Jones, my copyright trademark symbol, my care of 496 Will Chancellor Road, Stanford, and my zip code in brackets.
where did you
So
order
I
that
think-
from?
Huh?
Where did you order that from?
I think it was stampswarehouse.com.
Okay.
So I got me a big one that I put on my envelopes. So I'll stamp that label. And it's sticky back. It's like a sticker. You peel the back off of it. You stick it on either side. Put your package in here. You want to put some kind of numbering on it for your benefit, whether it be a registered mail label. That's perfectly fine. The number's already there. It's not registered mail. It's a priority mail packet because you're sending in a priority mail package. And it's cheaper. It's a $10 flat rate. Okay. And it's trackable. Just like that
Okay.
right there. Or that right there. It does not matter to them because all they're going to do is they're going to take and enter in the information. They're not even going to scan it because it's a $10 flat rate. Okay. I mean, they're not even going to weigh it to see how much it costs. Whatever you can get in this goes for $10.
Okay.
Is that
That one's okay to send, right? All of your notices in?
absolutely? Just make sure that you're in the right jurisdiction on your notices on whatever your 2-cent stamps. Just
Okay.
because you're forced to use their mailing system, priority mail, doesn't mean that you still can't put your document in your jurisdiction, your court of record, which is by adding your 2-cent stamps, canceling out If you're returning service, get your return service stamp. Return of service, no UCC contract, no territorial office. All position improvement type stuff. All position improvement. It's not just over. It's not just over when you do your paperwork. That's what people don't understand. It's not a magic bullet. And I'm not speaking to you, Laura. I'm not, or Belinda. I'm not. I promise. Or anybody. I'm speaking to the recording. Just because you do your paperwork doesn't mean you're done.
Yeah, you gotta get it out.
You got to get it out and you got to defend it and you got to defend yourself. It's a constant. It's a lifestyle change. It definitely is.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Sean on Pulaski shared with me how you could mail anything in the United States without postage. Cause you just put free if mailed in the United States. And I don't know, I have the laws written down somewhere, but does that change the status, like when we're talking about putting stamps on it because they're backed by gold and they're, actually a currency? If you do that, does it like lessen your package's, I don't know, validity?
I think he might be using tax per Q. And I cannot honestly tell you that I can understand every bit of what that involves, but I can tell you that there's some people on here that remember Chris Green. Chris Green came on and he helped us establish the website. What you see is pretty much what he created and made it look like. But Chris Green was really interested in the tax per Q method, and he tested it out by sending me tax per Q labels through the mail. And when I went to receive it at the post office, they had set it aside for when I came to pick it up. They had set it aside and had a note on it. It said not enough postage because he didn't put no postage on it. He put a label said tax per Q and it had USC, all this stuff on it. Stuff was quoting all this stuff, and they didn't accept it. I even talked to the postmaster, and I had Chris on the phone, and I said, I'd like to speak to the postmaster. And he come up and he said, "You're not outside the United States." When yes, we are, right? So that was the reason why they were saying that there was not enough postage on it, because he was trying to send it outside of the United States corporation. But with their indoctrination, they didn't realize that we as Americans are outside of the United States corporation. And so he got, not speaking for Chris in case he happens to see this, but I think he got a little frustrated with the process and just quit on it and quit testing it. But he did put a green registered mail receipt, the green receipt that they call, and that's for domestic. And I kind of think if he put a green or a pink return receipt, which is for international, I think it might have worked. But I don't have enough time with what I'm going on to even fight that battle with them. I've got my system down with registered mail, and I'm not going to mess with a good thing. But that was their excuse, was we're not outside the United States, so it cannot be classified tax per Q, just by what we just saw in that PowerPoint, because the IRS uses it. Every corporate entity uses the zip codes to keep tracks on us. So we've tried it, but I don't know. Maybe we can get Sean cornered enough to where he can give us a little bit more insight on what he's talking about. As far as these stamps, I just go to shop, Belinda, if you'll let me. Stamps. And I filter by
Do you have to go to the international?
mm-mm.
Okay.
So you got 8 pages here. One of 8 results. Hold on. Give me a minute or jog my memory here. Cause I just did order them. I ordered them Thursday of last week. It's supposed to be here tomorrow.
And we
Yeah.
never use forever stamps, correct? Because
I
there's
do.
no,
I haven't heard not to. Why? What was you saying?
I just heard in our litigation, or now she's calling it due process, they said never use. Why did they say, hun? Because they have no set value.
Yeah, they
Good
do. They're
night.
73 cents.
Right, but well, 6 weeks ago they were cheaper.
Right.
You see,
Yeah. Exactly.
because
Yeah, but
postage just went up
yep. Exactly. It went from
68.
63 to 68 to 73. Is that what it was?
Yeah, it was 68.
Yeah. But it still got value. I mean, and proof of that is when I'm come up short, I'll use a forever stamps and they value it as six because when I first went in, she said, "Now hold on, hon. This is the woman I usually work with." She said, "Hold on before we do this because stamps just went up. So let's see what we got." So there we go. And my qualms with with them putting that type of information out, with them not being 100% sure of it. And that's again what Anna said to Nethi today. If you're gonna do what you're trying to get me to approve you to do on live air, just stay close to me. And this is me speaking in honest place, talking to Nethi, what she said today. She said, just stick with me because it just takes one person to put out the wrong information, not on purpose, but it snowballs quick in this because people are looking for so many remedies and a way out that people just take stuff and run with it. So I use forever stamps, and I'm going to show you proof after I get off of this of my layout of my envelopes, and you might see a forever stamp on there. So I don't know why they would say that. I could be totally wrong. I'm not saying that anybody's right or wrong. I just say that I use them. So
I found them, Justin.
did you see where I went to sort?
Yeah. And it's, that's what I did, but I couldn't get anything to come up.
Oh,
But I didn't know that there was multiple pages.
oh yeah.
So I went over the pages and then I found them.
Yeah, right here. Yeah. So right here for everybody else's knowledge, right here, when you go to shop and you click on stamps over here, you'll go to sort by. And then when you click that, you'll go from high to low. That means they're going to put all their higher denomination stamps on page 1 and then go from page 1 down to the lowest. And when they, so it took me, page 1, then it's click to page 2, and you start running into your high denomination stamp. And you talking about blowing their socks off at the post office. Yeah, they gawed and awed. Look at that. That's so pretty. It's been so long since I've seen a $10 stamp. Wow. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, y'all messing with me, baby.
Bob and I find ourselves,
huh?
Bob and I find ourselves teaching the people at the post office things they should already know. Like stamps are backed by gold, and they're like, "What? Really?" And I'm like, "You're the post office employee."
And just think, if we can get them to know what we know, that's an asset to us because they're in that system. That just takes a little bit of re-educating on them, and we could start our own post office, and they could be our postal employees. We got to do it. You see what I'm saying? We're not trying to. We're trying to recreate. We're trying to restore and reconstruct the American civil government. We're not trying to reconstruct and restore it and then do away with the de facto, because there's going to be, I'll say it, there's going to be debt slaves that want to stay in that system because they're too scared of change. But if we can peacefully educate, be the adult in the room every time we have interaction with these persons, it's us being that light in their life. That's what you say all the time, Laura, that God has put you here for that reason, for you to be the light in somebody else. You know, you may not realize it, but the person that you've talked to that day, I guarantee you that with the way that things are in the world today, I guarantee you they're going back thinking, and I love it. I mean, it's
I've given the
Go.
information to several of the post office. And that one time I ran into, someone who knew a person on the assembly already. One of the ladies though is married to a woman, and I don't know, we're all open on that, but some of Anna's articles I feel like might deter some of her talks, like she was
Yeah.
talking about corporate marriages today.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Anna's not doing it on purpose. Anna's doing it because that's facts. You know, she's not doing it, and yeah. Yeah. But there's how you find your stamps, and it's a good resource. But keep in mind, just you're gonna pay face value, right? So let's click on these $5 stamps here. You're gonna pay face value. You're gonna pay $20 for four or $5 stamps. That's it. You don't have to pay nothing at the post office. Okay? So you're not getting metered mail, you're getting straight postage stamps.
So when I
Which
do those
back in
envelopes, I just put a $10 stamp on it and that's it.
on a priority mail envelope?
Yeah.
No, you can't put a stamp on a priority. Is that what you was asking? I apologize earlier.
Yeah.
No, when you use the priority mail, you'll have to use their scanned. They'll do their thing on their computer, and it will print out a barcode with a tracking number on it that they scan, and that's how their system rings up the $10 price.
Oh,
Yeah.
so I shouldn't hit the buy now button.
Did what?
I shouldn't have hit the buy now button on it.
Well, I mean, you still
Stamp.
got the opportunity to use it for registered mail, and
Yeah.
registered does hold a lot more weight.
Okay.
But I mean, I could be wrong on that. Just ask the question. It never hurts to ask the question. But I don't think that you put, because I tried it. Excuse me, because when Cheryl the old record.
It's
Go
almost
ahead.
9 o'clock, son. It's bedtime now. Did you brush your teeth?
Oops,
Joshua, go brush your teeth, please.
let me get him muted. Yeah, it never hurts to ask the question and bring that back to us. If I'm wrong, I done told you I'll eat crow like I'm on Fear Factor.
Yeah, it was
So-
amazing how different post offices are, because in here where I'm at in Mount Washington, of course, it's still, a small little town, and I mean it's growing, it's getting bigger every day. It used to be only one store in a whole daggone place, and now they're everywhere. But the post office wouldn't even let me sell me 2-cent stamps, and then they wouldn't allow me to have any registered stickers. And like they kept it all behind the thing. And the only thing that was out in the lobby was stuff that you had to pay for. And so it was really, really rough. And then, so I went to Louisville and they were like, oh yeah, here's 2-cent stamps. Oh yeah, take all those stickers. You can have every one of them.
Yeah.
Like they just didn't care in Louisville. But here in Mount Washington, I mean, they wanted your firstborn before you could get anything from behind that counter.
No, and
So-
that's where I would just say, can I speak to the postmaster and just explain to the postmaster as best you can, hey, I don't want to do certified mail. It's for business to business mail. I'm not a business. I'm a living woman. I want to do registered mail. I know how to do it. But I can't get the registered mail labels anywhere. Would you mind just giving me 4 or 5 of them in the green receipts? Can you give me 4 or 5 of them? And when I run out, I'll get 4 or 5 more. That's what I did with my post office, because they were seeing that I was fluent with registered mail. I knew how to do it. First couple of times, yeah, it was a 20-minute wait because the person behind the counter didn't know how to do it either.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's just a matter of going in, get your crap together, like what you're doing, because we all know we do. once we do put the time and the research into it, we can do anything. Get your game face on, go in there, have it all ready, and just stick to your guns. Have your information ready. Say this is registered mail. This is a service that's provided by you all. It's right there up on the board as a service. If you're not going to offer the service, please take it down off your board. You know?
Yeah.
And if they still give you grease, ask for the postmaster. You know?
Okay.
And I'll send you pictures. I can send you pictures of my envelopes and say, look, it's being done, you know, if you want to go that far. Now to get to Austin's question. Okay, so hopefully this will follow me through the way I do my files, and hopefully this will help you out, okay? But I keep all my individual stuff separate from the Kentucky Assembly. Here's Kentucky Assembly folder. Here's my documents folder, okay? Hopefully this will follow me and it'll go pretty quick. Let my hard drive wake up. Okay, now I've got an administrative process folder here, right? I got my 928 packet digital file, and I've got my original copy stored in a fireproof safe. If I want to send any copies of my 928 packet, I'm printing copies off of this folder right here, adding it to my packet. I never, ever, ever get my originals out unless I really need them. Baby deeds now goes into who all I've done my administrative processes on. City card, Danville Pediatrics, Small Business Association, Specialized Loan Servicing, Synchrony Bank, Tractor Supply, USAA. Okay, so let's do this. So back in the beginning of my journey, as I'm doing honing my skills on my administrative process, let's go back to one of the very first ones that I did, which would probably be USAA. And you don't have to have this stuff perfect the first time, because as you can see, they don't know what perfect is. You just keep course correcting, keep building on what you do every time you do it. Learn something from everything you do. Okay? You see how I had that labeled there? First notice. Now keep in mind, this is one of my first things I'm done, so I'm learning my process. I'm learning how to build my files. So you'll see here how first one's is just notice of claim, notice of claim. Well, that tells you that then I thought they was all notice of claims. I learned since that there was 3 different ones. So the first one, let's go to the picture of my non-metered mail. Bring it up. Hopefully it'll bring it up and follow it.
Got to double click it, I think.
Double click.
No, like the file itself. You got to double click on that file.
Let me stop screen sharing and bring it up. It's not going to follow me because it popped up on my computer, but it did not on this one. Now I'm showing you this one so you can see the progression of how I've learned how to alter the way the stuff sits on my envelopes. Okay. So I have now since changed from printed out labels, which this was a gift from Cheryl when I think when I was seated as martial arms, she sent me a whole thing of these. But here's my label here. Here's my green receipt. Notice if you get those registered mail labels, they've got that little label at the bottom on the same sticky back. Well, then you just take that one, put it there, and you take the one that's just on the line, you rip the edges off, and you put it on your green receipt. That just keeps you from, my handwriting sucks. So I could make a 3 look like an 8, and that could screw me all the way around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you use that right there, that's a good idea. Always make sure and check what service you want on your green receipts. By that, I mean, it's got different options here that this green receipt could all be used for. So make sure and check appropriately what you want. I think that's restricted signature only, and that's a different price. Each one of these boxes you check is going to be a different price. of what you pay for registered mail. Okay. And now this was back when I was going into the post office and buying stamps from them and them putting it on my envelope. But you still see no metered mail sticker anywhere. Okay. And you also see this is a little bit out of place from my understanding. This should be up here claiming this package. And also my autograph is going the wrong way, in my opinion. Everybody does it different, but I read the UPU extensively, and it does say to go from left and right, from the left-hand corner down to the right-hand corner at a 45-degree angle. And what that says below it, and notice it's all in gold ink. I signed my documents in gold in front of a notary. Everything's gold. International.
So should
Sorry.
we use gold when we sign that or red? Uh-oh, I think
In
we
the
lost.
bid sheet video, it said to get a gold or a silver marker to do your stamp. And that's probably, Justin, why you signed it that way, because in that first bid shoot video that I got on how to send registered mail, that's how they teach you to do it.
You
Is
notice,
from the,
you notice who's instructing that video?
wasn't it Michelle?
It was I thought it was Lisa Schaefer, if it's the one I was talking about. She did the W8BN video, how to communicate with the tobacco, but we might be talking about different videos. But yes, that's where I got all my information from at the beginning, and then the litigation call started. So I got on the litigation calls, and I started to learn my process. Everybody was telling me, "This is what you got to do. This is what you got to do. This is what you got to do." Well, no, this is what I'm doing by what you're telling me. I'm taking what you're telling me to do, and I'm honing it to how I feel comfortable doing it, how I want to do it, right? And I have course corrected with my autographs. And you're right, Laura. Gold is for international, and silver is for on the state. So I've even been thinking here in my administrative processes, everything that is going in state for the pirates that are coming from after me from Kentucky, I've been thinking about doing silver. But then I go back to international jurisdiction, international concurrent general jurisdiction. Gold is, I can't come off of gold. I just cannot come off of gold. Because when you do your paperwork, those raised seals that we put on a declaration of political status and the common carry, well, I've heard that gold is for the declaration of political status and the silver is for the common carry because it's within the state border. So take that for what you want. I'm not one to, be a stickler for rules. I'm all about self-governing. You do you. Because you're the one that's got to answer for it when the shit hits the fan. Pardon my language. If it does, a lot of these people I'm sending stuff to, I've gotten two responses, capitulation letters, with them saying they're doing what I've asked them, demand them for them to do. Everybody else, this goes away. I don't hear nothing else from them. It's not on my credit report. I checked the credit report. It just goes away. They cannot admit to their wrongdoing. If they do, they'd be out of business. They have to hem-haw around the truth, make you seem like you're in the wrong still, but still do what you're demanding them to do. So there's one of my first ones. Now we'll go to this last one I just sent, and you'll all be able to see the changes that I've made from just doing it over and over. Yeah, it's messed up. Yeah, it's wrong. Yeah, I might lose 2 minutes of sleep over it, but I'll get a second chance. They're coming again. Somebody else is coming after some debt that they claim that I owe. We all know how it is. Okay. So let me stop. Well, I'm going to screen share some more because I want y'all to see. And my phone went off because it did die. That's why I dropped off. All right, one more, and I'll wrap this up. I can't see on my phone, so you'll have to let me know when y'all can see what you can see. If it doesn't follow me, just tell me, and I'll stop and reshare. Okay, this last one I just did. Can y'all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, can you tell the difference in my filing system now from that one to the latest one I just did? This
Yeah,
notice,
now you got your numbers in there and everything.
right, okay. And then this notice of claim has not been done yet. That's why I know that it ain't got the numbers, it ain't been done. There's no final package in there. Okay. All this other stuff is just stuff that I have copied and pasted into this folder because this folder is labeled who my administrative process is to. So all of my tools that I want to go through to be able to build my administrative letter is all compiled right here. Stuff that I'll use, I'll take and I'll move it on into the folder that it's designated for. So all these WordPress documents, my templates. Okay? Template. All these PDFs are stuff that I have printed out, scanned in, and made a PDF and added to it. Okay. Now, this proof of mailing and jurisdiction. I have screen share again. Tell me when you can see it.
We can see it.
Okay. One big difference you'll see is my stamp that I bought. Now put my registered mail label right underneath my address. The green receipt is the same except on the back. Your green receipts on the back, you'll have a place to put your address where your green receipt is to be returned to. All right. I made a little stamp for that. I bought a little stamp. You can't see it, but it's a little stamp. It's just black. It's not near as big. So I put that little stamp on the back, and I also put it on that white receipt. So I hardly handwrite anything. There's the address where it's going. There's the label coming off of my registered mail label. Now on the back, if you was to flip this over on the back, you'll see a little square on there, and it'll say postage prepaid. Well, what I do is I put a daggone 2-cent stamp over that, and I put my autograph and my stuff, my red thumbprint on it, making that. I make myself postmaster over that too. So when it gets back in their mail system, it's my document, right? I got my name and my seal on it. I'm not paying for that either. Does that make sense? And then also, one thing I learned was to actually take this address and put it on the envelope. That way, because this thing's only attached here and here, everything else is floppy. I can take my fingers and I can fit them in behind that right there. And if they're not careful with my document and they don't lock it safe like they describe they do, and this label gets ripped off, well, now me betting that this is going to get somewhere within a certain amount of time is not going to happen because they don't know where to send it now. So whenever this falls off, it's going to sit at that postal location that it's at. They will not tell you. If you don't track it and keep up with it, you'll never know. You'll just think, well, I guess it got there. So now that I learned that the green receipt is not as important as they make it out to be, it's more of a wow factor type thing now, because you're paying for the service. You can go to the postmaster and demand a copy of the green receipt from the postal carrier because it's not an actionable item. They cannot get terminated, fired, or suspended for losing a green receipt. But they do have to take a digital copy of it. Okay? So when I learned that, I was like, okay, I'm going to start writing the address on the envelope itself. That passed with my postal service worker. Now you'll see my postmaster stamp. That's what this is. This is not a denominational stamp to be added in with this. They do, but that's okay. That just adds more money to my envelope. But now I've got it up in the right-hand corner. I'm going left to right. And what this says has not changed through my whole process. The first one's all rights reserved. The second one's without prejudice. And the third one's authorized representative. copyright, thumbprint. Again, what's missing? The metered mail sticker. And so this particular envelope, it was 25, wait a minute, 2570 something. I can't remember. Anyway, well, I can remember because I got it right here. The actual FRN they wanted for this package was for $25.85, and it was going to Fort Washington, Pennsylvania. Okay, I went in loaded up with $25. I had to add a free forever stamp, 73 cents, and I bought a 10-cent stamp from them while I was standing there. Only thing I paid for, the only thing on this receipt, there's no customer value declared here. I want to share this with y'all. Okay. I don't know if it's gonna let me do it, guys. What I was wanting to show you was this receipt. Okay, but on it says postage, $3.15. Extra services and fees, registered mail, $18.60. Return receipt, hard copy, they charge $4.10 for that service. Customer must declare a value. It's no value. You don't want to insure it, okay? Because it's just documents. It's nothing valuable.
They make us put a value, so we usually put 25.
Well, there again, that's them operating under color of law and their opinions and what they've been led to believe they should do. It says on this receipt right here, it says date stamp. When they stamp it, right underneath it, it says domestic insurance up to $50,000 is included based upon the declared value. International indemnity is limited. See reverse. And it's got on the reverse, it's got where you can declare a value, how you do an insurance coverage, a claim, international indemnity. So get you one of these and read up on it just for your data points for when you go in and talk about this stuff. On the back, it says filing an international claim. It says to report, let's see. Well, anyway, but it does not say anywhere on here where I've scanned the first card, paid the first FRN. It says total postage and fees, $25.85. So there again is proof. This white receipt. And another proof is you can't see it, I'm holding it up, but I've got the white receipt that I do with my registered mail. And then I've got the actual United Postal Service receipt. It says, let's see. The only thing they charged me for was one 10-cent stamp. And then as far as, I'll just go down the list. It says first class mail, $3.15. Large envelope, Fort Washington, PA, 1 pound. All right, it says 6.7 ounces. Estimated delivery date, 7/18. Registered mail amount, 0. Tracking number. Of course, it's got the RE number. Return receipt tracking. It's got that tracking number on it for their stuff. And then it says a fixed postage, a fixed amount, $25.85. It's actually, if you look, it's actually $25.83. But again, she counted the 2-cent stamp. That's worth $25.85. Cash, $1, because I put a $1 FRN out of my pocket to pay for a 10-cent stamp. Change, 90 cents. I did not pay one FRN for that registered mail packet. But that document, that packet is totally within my jurisdiction. So hope that helped.
One more thing, we have gotten registered stickers that didn't actually have the little sticker under it. We
Yeah,
noticed that, and so I had to write it on all of them.
Yeah, those are just outdated. Those are things they've had. Those are dinosaurs in their closet or in their drawers. They need to get rid, disperse all those, and the new rolls have the label and the little label underneath. And that's why, I was told at the beginning to make friends with your postal employees because they're not our enemies. They're just stuck in a bad situation, which honestly says about everybody stuck in a bad situation that they cannot get out of. That's why we're here. I don't think, we need to spend time reaching out to United States citizens and trying to educate them and inform them. But right now, they're so combative with the information that we're giving them. I'm just giving them 2 to 5 minutes of my time. The rest is trying to educate best I can with the time that I've got our populace that's already papered up and status corrected. That's who's going to help us, not the United States citizens. That's who we're trying to rescue. Right. So, our outreach could be focused once we get there, could be focused on status corrected men and women more than outreaching to United States citizens. They've chose their path. Every time we talk to them, they choose their path. I'm going to put this link. I'm going to yield for a minute. I'm going to put the link to the Tuesday podcast, this podcast this afternoon in the chat because it's really good. I mean, it's pretty good. I can mind it. Anybody else got any question, comment?
I was gonna ask about that zip file you were gonna put in the chat if you could. If not, I'll just email you.
You're breaking up a little bit.
The zip file you were gonna put in the chat from earlier.
Hold on, I'm getting back. Every time I click on my computer, my stuff goes crazy. It lags. So if you don't mind, ask that again.
You asked us to remind you to put the zip folder in the chat at the end.
I got you. That's what I'm working on now. Thank you for reminding me. And then David, I got your in the chat. I'll be sending that to you. Austin, I got your email already requesting it. I'll just go ahead and put it. I'll put everybody on this call that's here tonight. I'll just go on and send that to you whether you want it or not. How's that? Everybody watching.
Sounds good.
Perfect.
That'll work.
But I
Justin,
do have
I was
time
gonna
off here,
say-
Justin. Sorry. I gotta
On
jump,
the-
so love y'all.
Peace.
Justin,
Go
I was
ahead.
gonna say on the land patent stuff, if she's from Alaska, west of the Mississippi, the land patent procedure is different than the East Coast. So I don't know if she's combined both sections or not, but they have a different process out there.
Okay.
Just want to let everybody know about it.
Yep. That's good info. And I haven't had time. I haven't had time to go through it enough to make sure what.
Yeah, out there they go to the BLM first and get a track number, and then they go back and get their meets and bounds and that process, where we just go from our deed and go backwards to the original grant. So it's a different process.
Yes, that's why Susan James has two people on. The one guy's for the West Coast and Ron is for the East
chat.
Coast.
But we got Belinda, David, Land, Anita, Keith, Austin, And I'll send it to you, Laura, and you and Bob can look at it. Is that all right?
Yep.
Okay. David, Belinda, Laura, Austin, Anita, and Keith. Okay, let me scan this real quick and I'll tell you kind of what's in it. Okay, it's got examples. Okay, so it's a zip file that you'll be getting. And if for some reason you can't open the zip file on your computer, let me know and I'll start, breaking it down and send it PDF by PDF. But it's got examples. It's got examples of two finished land patents is the first folder. Second folder will be resources. And it's got 1, 2, 3. Looks like it's got articles in it. And then a WordPress resource. Here, I'll do this. I'll just screen share so everybody can see it. Well, let me know because, like I said, my phone's out. I can't see what's sharing on the screen.
It's spinning at the moment. All right, it's up.
Okay, did it follow me back to the examples of completed land patents as the first photo?
Yes.
Okay. So. Okay, still at the file page?
Yes.
Okay. You got resources. Then you got step 5, examples of notices. Then you got step 11, UCC examples. And then right in here, we get into the instructions. Step 1, step 2, all the way to step 12. So let's see. Let's look at this example, one of these examples right quick. And it coincidentally says David Land patent. I was like, David Land's got a patent already? But it's David's Land patent. I've stopped screen sharing. We'll look at this together. And I'm going to have to hop off here, ladies and gentlemen, men and women. Damn, I just saw the view y'all are getting too. Sorry. Let me stop. Let's see. All right. Let me know when you can see this completed land patent.
We can see it.
All righty. So scroll through it pretty quick. If y'all see something that stands out that will help us know whether it would be the same as one outside of Alaska or whatever. Private property covered by private indemnity bond. There's honest identity bond they're using. It's pretty long, so if y'all don't mind, I'll just send it out to everybody. Everybody look it over with what time you have. And hopefully it will stir maybe a land patent committee. Corrected deed of reconveyance and title. Let me scroll on down, see if we can find some type of chain of title. Oh, daggone. Everything's notarized, looks like to me, every page. No, just the autograph page. And here's what you was asking me about earlier, Laura, about the notary block. So you can, I don't know if I'd use the word commissioned. That's a C term. But it's got public notary like it was it is. It's a state-of-state public notary. But that's wrong. It's not a public notary. It's a notary public if you want to be a stickler on their document. But it's about the intent, I guess. You see what I'm saying? It says commissioned public notary. That's an oxymoron right there. It should be commissioned notary public. That's just me.
If I may, Jason?
Yeah.
A notary public from the other jurisdiction can be a public notary
Oh, okay.
in our jurisdiction. That's one of the things that Anna was made sure to point out because of the different witness statements that they would use. And she wanted everybody to know that a public or a notary public can be a notary public as well. We, on the other hand, as public notaries, cannot be a notary public.
Got you.
But they can go both ways, but we can't. I just wanted to point that out. I yield.
Yep. Thank you very much, because that's been a topic of conversation here in the last couple of days. Thank you. So if somebody had this is a question for David again. If somebody had a notary block that said recording secretary, would they be able to take it to a state notary public and have them do it, or should they change their notary block to say what that person is, either a commissioned public notary or a commissioned notary public? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that depends on the notary public that they take it to. They're more than likely just going to stamp it and sign it anyway. So it's probably not going to make that much difference. Because you have to remember, the only thing that a notary is doing is saying it's this person that signed this paperwork. They have nothing to do with anything that's in the paperwork itself.
Yep.
Their only statement is, yes, they're alive, they were real, they were here, they signed it.
Gotcha.
And that's all it is. I yield.
In your opinion, David, if let's say somebody's wanting something notarized for like a court case, do you think it's beneficial to have one of their commissioned witnesses witness your document, or you think it's beneficial to go outside and have a not so known in their jurisdiction recording secretary notarize documents? I'll preface it with my opinion. I think it's better to use their witness in their system. That way they can't bounce it back and say, well, what is a recording secretary? We don't know what a recording secretary is. I yield.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Justin. It's just going to eliminate one other possible notch in the process that can cause you problems. But you're right. You can do it both ways. Just realize that as a public notary signature, you may have a lot of explaining to do just to get them to realize that it's just as good, if not better, than a notary public.
Exactly.
I yield.
Yep. Thank you. We know that, but they don't know that, and to have to keep from having to argue that point. I take all my stuff that I'm sending out in UCC to defend myself from the land and soil jurisdiction. I use their commissioned witnesses because it's in, I hold superior current general jurisdiction, but I want to use one of their witnesses because I don't want to have to take my time to have to defend, just like you just said. So thank you for that. Did you get that, Laura?
Yes.
Awesome. That's all the point I was trying to make today. I'm sorry that it didn't come out like that over text, but a notary public is a commissioned agent for their courts, for their documents and stuff. So I would use their witness. That was just me, and it's supposed to be free at any bank. Your bank, the library offers free notaries. And if you run into one and they want to go over your document with a fine-tooth comb, it's just like David just said. You stop it right there and you say you are not an attorney. You are a public, or you're a notary public. So I am a member of the general public, and when I'd like you to witness my document, my signature. That's it. They're not to go through your document. They're not to say, well, I don't want to put my name on this. This is the demanded the cease and desist. You know, they're not allowed to do that. They signed up to be a notary public. And that's what they're supposed to do.
Well, what I have found is they don't want to take my credential cards. The free places, now I have gone into UPS store and paid $15 for 3 different signatures for them to take my credential card, but I do not have a driver's license. My purse got stolen when we were door dashing, so I've not replaced my driver's license, and a lot of them just look at that credential card or my paperwork and they're like, I can't take this.
I've had the same thing happen to me, and they said it was not an official government ID, government issued ID. So hopefully that will be remedied with the new version of the ID cards coming out. But I just bit the bullet. I just went back and got a driver's license. I had an expired driver's license. Every time I handed it to them, they wanted to play the police. They wanted to say, your driver's license is expired. You need to get a new driver's license if you get pulled over, blah, blah, blah. And at one time I was having a bad day. And I said, so you're a police officer now? She didn't like that. Next time I come in, I tried to use my credential card. And of course, she kicked back on me. And that's when I talked to the administrator of the bank. And I asked him, I looked him right in his eye and I said, you're aware of an administrative process, right? He said, yeah, I know exactly what that is. I said, well, that's what I'm trying to get you to witness. And he sat right down and he started witnessing. She didn't do it. She refused to do it. She said, our bank policy requires a government issued ID. And I had thoughts of saying, well, my rights supersede your policy, but I didn't. It was just.
May I?
Well, when they asked me, I'm sorry, but when they asked me, when they did take it, I just looked at them and I said, there's a barcode on the back. It is a government issued ID. It's just not the government you're used to, is what I
Yeah.
said.
You got it. I mean, it's not your fault. It's their fault. Go ahead, Dave.
This comes back to education. And when you go to give ID anywhere, it's fine to use your driver's license or your government issued ID along with your credentials card. But that's the thing. You need to also say, you're going to take this as my driver's license. I require that you also add this, my credential card, as part of the process. Once they have those two together and they start to recognize them more and more, it's going to be easier for people later on down the road to not run into problems like we're running into. So especially for our kids, just use your credential card along with whenever you are required to have an ID. I yield.
Good info. All right, before we wrap up, make sure and get that. If you're not aware of the Tuesday podcast link, go ahead and grab that out of the chat and save that channel. And let me do one more thing. Well, Austin's gone. Well, no, Austin's still on here. And for anybody else that's not aware, let me try and get on YouTube again. And I want to share the returning home page with you. And it's not really an Audubon rights page. It's somebody that's created it, but reads honest stuff. So let me try it again, and I'll wrap up with that. It's really good. It's really good for outreach too. It's got a couple good short 15-minute videos that explains the specifics of how you were deceived, the great fraud of 1933, you know, when they created the Social Security accounts and stuff like that. And they created all the 3-letter agencies back in 1933. And that's what the Chevron deference case is shooting out of the water now, is everything that Roosevelt did is what that case and others is taking care of. So it's going slow. I am working on it. I don't know what it is with YouTube. Okay. Come on. Here we go. All right, this is about the last thing I have to offer tonight. I appreciate everybody taking the time to be here, especially this long. Very encouraging. So that last one in there is the returning home channel. So save that to your channels if you'd like, of your research channels. And it's like I said, it's got the playlist of both books, the Blood Money book and What Would You Do book. And then it's got those 3 little short minute videos that you can also find on our website, but that's another place to find it. So that's about it.
Appreciate it, Jeff.
No problem, man. And just everybody keep in mind, next week is our end of the month General Assembly meeting. I know most of you are aware of some things that are going on. I tried my best to keep it as it should. But we'll get the lowdown. The general populace will get the lowdown on the General Assembly meeting as it should be. There's no secrets. We have nothing to hide. And some of you know what I'm talking about. Some of you don't. Don't feel left out if you don't. I probably shouldn't even be speaking about it, but I just want to put y'all's mind at ease. Everything gonna be okay. All right.
Sounds good.
Right. And I can't wait to make that announcement, Lauren, Bob. I'm excited for y'all. I think y'all will be a great fit.
So on that, are we still going to do county, or do we need to go on and go higher now?
Well, let's let it play out. It's not here yet. Okay. So let's let it play out. I'm still hoping that he requests a meeting of what I offered to him in the email. It's like I told you, I'm not the one to terminate anybody. That's not what was said in the email. And the email was sent out to those that it should have been sent out to, for him to not have to talk to me, but talk to other peers. You know, talk to your peers about this, because I'm not the only one. I've been tracking it. I've been tracking ever since he got into the assembly. It's that my hands are tied now. Other people's brought it to my attention, but it'll all be brought to light, just like it always does. I'm not trying to be transparent. I just want to give everybody the respect and the individual rights that they deserve to be able to course correct, self-govern, and do the right thing. You know?
Right. I don't know that I did speak with him. So, and he put in the chat today that he was going to do it eventually anyway, because he called you a prophet or something in the chat. You're on that chat, aren't you?
No, I took myself out of all that because I am the state marshal at arms. I have no jurisdiction in any text group message, in any social media Facebook page. I have no jurisdiction. But when it comes into the assembly and it's a threat to the assembly, that's when I have jurisdiction, and that's when I will do what I've raised my hand and volunteered for. It's nothing personal to anybody. And it's just what Anna or Lisa said today. We need to be able to be disagreeable without being disagreeable. You know?
Right.
We need to be able to disagree without being disagreeable. So I tried to handle it without putting it on blast, and that's not the way it was handled from the other side. I can't handle that, you know? And he pretty much admitted in that chat of what the claim is. So I just don't understand it. I don't understand why he's handling it like that, but that's his choice, not mine.
Right. But he did say that was his ultimate goal. So that just kind of tells me that he's not gonna do it. And to cause the discord and the rhetoric, because it has upset me a little bit. I mean, I'm not even gonna lie, you know, but after reading it and researching the Morris community, I mean, I totally get it now.
Yeah.
And I don't know, because he was making it like, I don't know, just that you had done something wrong. And when you really look into it, yeah, there's nothing been done wrong.
Nope. Nothing what the weather has, but not by my part.
Well, see, in the chat, they were asking for a meeting just to discuss.
In the email I sent him, his notice, I gave him opportunity to set up a private meeting to where it didn't have to be put on blast. And this could all be handled by an ombudsman. What ombudsman we have at this point, it could be handled that way. Instead, he chose to handle it differently. And I have put a timeline on it, but I don't have to tell nobody that timeline. I put a notice to him. And so what does a notice have with it? It has timelines, right?
Right.
And if he chooses not to have the meeting by the next General Assembly meeting, so be it, I
May
mean, yeah.
I gotta get out of here pretty quick. I'm just kind of curious about a couple of things. Has Terry been reimbursed for anything that she lost with her home in Washington? Has anything taken place to help her out? And the other thing that I'm curious about is, has anybody gotten paid from the Mochi letters and statements that were sent up for the bills that people had? Is there any progress being made for any of the members along those lines? Just real quick, if you can answer that, and then I'll get off the call and you guys can finish up. I apologize for interrupting you.
No,
I yield.
no worries. We really shouldn't, out of respect for others involved, probably shouldn't be talking about this, but it's recorded. But to answer your question, I think Terry is still fighting that battle. She's up to the Supreme Court level, I think now, David, with it. I don't think she's being reimbursed. I think that she's living with somebody on Washington and maybe sharing rent or whatever, but I don't think she's being reimbursed. As far as the Mochi process, I think it's few and very far between who did see results and who didn't. But I think that's the reasoning by Anna's recent request of the state assemblies to get again people that weren't in on the SIA program that did the claim originally to put in mortgage only. She requested at all state assemblies, the SIA coordinator, which is Laura right now, get that together and send it to Harold Hines so that she could use it at the international level with the bankers, with the claims that, hey, you all presented this remedy. Here's what we've come up with. We need you to honor it. Here we have all these men and women that are being forced into a mortgage. Here's the proof from every state of the union. So that was the recent request from her recently because of no action at the state level.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate the meeting tonight and all the information that you guys gave out. My information, I don't know if Laura received it, but I did give it to drawing a blank, can't remember her name, Belinda. Yeah, I gave it to Belinda. So you guys have a great night, and we'll get some more information later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
You too.
Good talking to you, David. Thanks for your support. I'm going to stop the recording real quick.